The text message arrived on her sister's phone at 8:15 p.m. It was from Elara Vance. It said she was going for a late run, she needed to clear her head. It was a simple message. It was also a lie. Elara Vance was already gone by then. The person who sent that message was her killer. He had built what he believed was the perfect alibi. He used Elara's own phone to create his story. He thought the digital world would hide his crime, but the digital world remembers everything. It sees things we cannot. In the end, a trail of unseen data told the real story of what happened to Elara. This plan, designed to be flawless, fell apart. It collapsed under the weight of tiny bits of information. Information that travels silently through the air every second. The killer, her husband Marcus Vance, believed he had accounted for everything. He had a receipt from a store miles away. The first official sign of trouble was a 911 call. It came in at 10:48 p.m. on the night of October 23, 2025. The caller was a man named Marcus Vance. His voice was strained, filled with a convincing panic. On the recording, you can hear him speaking to the dispatcher.
My wife? Her name is Elara Vance.
She went for a run hours ago. She's not back. She's not answering her phone. This isn't like her at all. Something is wrong. I know something is wrong. He told the dispatcher about the text message he received and the one her sister received, saying she was going for a run. When police arrived, their body cameras captured a scene of domestic worry. Marcus Vance met them at the door. He was pacing in the living room. He showed them the text message on his phone. It was sent from Elara's number at 8:14 p.m. Hey, long day. Going to run it off. Be back later. He seemed to be the picture of a concerned husband. He gave them a full account of his evening. He said he was running errands for his business. He had receipts to prove it. He even had a witness, a store clerk who remembered him. The first officers on the scene did a preliminary search of the area. They walked the quiet, tree-lined streets of the neighborhood. They checked the nearby park, a popular spot for local runners. Their flashlights cut through the darkness, but they found nothing. There was no sign of a struggle, no dropped keys, no discarded headphones. It was as if Elara Vance had simply vanished from the face of the earth. The only trace of her was the digital echo of a text message, a message that was already starting to seem suspicious to the officers on the scene. It was too neat, too tidy. The officers' body cam footage from that night is chilling to watch now. Knowing what we know, Marcus's performance seems rehearsed. He points to the running shoes by the door. "Those are her favorites," he says to an officer. "She must have worn her old pair." He gestures to the kitchen counter. Her keys are gone. Her phone is gone. Elara Vance was 34 years old. She was a graphic designer known for her bright, optimistic art. Her friends and family described her as meticulous and organized. She was a planner. Elara didn't do anything spontaneously, her sister Chloe told us. She laid out her clothes for the next day every single night. She planned her meals for the week every Sunday. The idea that she would just decide to go for a run at night without telling anyone her route, it's impossible.
That wasn't my sister.
Elara was also a creature of habit. She ran 3 times a week, but always in the morning and always on the same well-lit path. She started documenting every incident in a private journal on her laptop. Elara was not someone who waited for things to happen. She took action. She reported Ben Carter's behavior to her former employer. She also filed a formal complaint with the local police department. The police spoke to Carter, who denied everything. He claimed it was all a coincidence. With no direct threats made, there was little the police could do other than warn him to stay away. But Elara remained fearful. She installed a new deadbolt on her front door. She shared her phone's location with her sister. She was taking steps to protect herself, creating a safety net of people and technology. This proactive nature is what makes her death so tragic. She saw a threat and prepared for it. She documented it. She told people about it. Her digital journal was filled with dates, times, locations of her encounters with Ben Carter. She saved screenshots of his social media profiles, where he posted vague, passive-aggressive comments. Elara was building a case, just in case. She was creating her own evidence file, a digital breadcrumb trail pointing directly at the man she feared. It was this evidence that would at first send the police in the exact wrong direction. With the discovery of Elara's journal, the investigation immediately focused on Ben Carter. He was the perfect suspect. He had a motive. Revenge for his firing. He had a history of unsettling behavior. The stalking incidents Elara had so carefully documented. And he had a weak alibi. When detectives first questioned him, Carter claimed he was home alone watching movies the night Elara disappeared. He couldn't provide any proof. No one could verify his story. For the investigators, it seemed like an open and shut case. All the pieces fit together neatly. Detectives brought Ben Carter in for a formal interrogation. The transcript shows a man who was defensive and angry.
I didn't do anything. I haven't seen her in weeks. You're wasting your time.
But his denials were overshadowed by the evidence from Elara's own laptop. The police had a documented pattern of harassment. They had a clear motive. Compared to Marcus Vance, the grieving husband with a verified alibi, Ben Carter looked undeniably guilty. The media picked up the story and public opinion quickly turned against him. The focus on Carter was so intense it created tunnel vision for the team. They dedicated immense resources to breaking his alibi. They pulled his phone records, hoping to place him near Elara's home or the park where she supposedly went running. They subpoenaed his financial records and searched his apartment. Every piece of evidence was viewed through the lens of his presumed guilt. They were convinced they had their man. All they needed was one piece of forensic evidence to connect him directly to the crime. But the evidence never came. Carter's phone records showed his device was at his apartment all night, just as he claimed. There was no DNA, no fingerprints, no physical link to Elara Vance. For weeks, the investigation stalled. The police were certain Carter was the killer, but they couldn't prove it. The pressure was mounting. Elara's family wanted answers. The public wanted an arrest. The case grew colder with each passing day. The detectives had followed the trail Elara herself had laid, but it had led them to a dead end. The real killer was hiding in plain sight. Section 5. Following the wrong trail. The investigation into Ben Carter consumed the first 3 weeks of the case. Detectives interviewed his friend's family, former co-workers. They dug into his past looking for any history of violence or obsessive behavior. They found a man who was bitter and resentful about losing his job, but nothing that suggested he was capable of murder. The more they pushed, the more his story held up. He was an easy person to dislike, but that didn't make him a killer. The red herring was believable, but it was a red herring nonetheless. Elara's sister, Chloe, was one of the few people who expressed doubt. In an interview with police, she said, "Ben Carter scared her, yes, but it doesn't feel right. He was obvious. This crime feels sneaky. It feels calculated." Ben was angry, but I don't think he was smart enough to pull this off and leave no trace. Her intuition was a quiet voice of dissent in an investigation that was running full steam in one direction. She kept insisting that something was off about the timeline, about the text messages, about the entire story of Elara's final hours. The turning point came not from a new lead, but from a review of the old ones. He sat down with the entire case file and started over. He reread the initial officer reports. He listened to the 911 call again. He watched the Bodycam footage from the first night. He was looking for something they had all missed. Something small, something that didn't fit the narrative they had built around Ben Carter. He found it in the property log from the crime scene. Among the items collected from the Vance home was a Wi-Fi router. It had been bagged and stored in evidence, considered unimportant at the time. In 2025, a Wi-Fi router was a standard household item, as common as a refrigerator or a television. No one had thought to analyze its data logs. It was just part of the background. But Detective Chen had a thought. If Elara's phone sent a text at 8:15 p.m., where was it when it sent it? The answer, he suspected, might be hiding inside that forgotten plastic box. Section 6, the husband story. Let's go back to Marcus Vance. From the start, cooperative, grieving husband. He had an alibi that seemed unshakable. He claimed he left at 7:30 p.m. to run errands. His online business sold vintage camera equipment. Dropped off packages at a 24-hour shipping center. The trip took him about 45 minutes away. It placed him far from home at the time of the murder. To support his alibi, he provided seemingly concrete proofs. A time-stamped receipt from the office supply store. The purchase was made at 8:28 p.m. A tracking slip from the shipping center. Package accepted at 9:12 p.m. He said he spoke to the clerk at the supply store. The young clerk later confirmed seeing Marcus that night. On the surface, a perfectly constructed timeline. It showed he could not have been home when Elara was killed, or when the 8:15 p.m. text was sent. During interviews, Marcus played the heartbroken spouse.
I keep thinking, what if I had stayed home? Maybe she wouldn't have gone for that run. Maybe she would still be here.
He spoke lovingly of his wife. He painted a picture of a happy marriage. He offered to help in any way he could. He gave police full access to his phone. He gave police full access to his car. He gave police full access to his financial records. His openness was disarming. It made him appear a victim, not a suspect. But beneath the surface, there were problems. Financial records later showed his business was failing. He was deep in debt. Elara held a significant life insurance policy. She was unaware of his financial trouble. Marcus had a powerful motive. His alibi was so strong, investigators initially dismissed him. He had documents. He had a witness. He had the sympathy of everyone involved. He was hiding in plain sight, protected by a wall of carefully fabricated evidence. The request to analyze the Wi-Fi router was considered a long shot, but the forensics lab agreed. A digital forensics expert connected the router to his computer and began extracting the system logs. These logs are like a diary for a router. They record every device that disconnects, and they timestamp each event. The expert scrolled through thousands of lines, searching for the night of October 23rd. He wanted the activity of one device, Elara's phone, and he found it. The log was clear and unambiguous. At 8:15 p.m., the exact moment the text was sent to her sister, Elara's phone connected to the home's Wi-Fi. A single line of data, but it changed everything. A phone can only be in one place at a time, connected to home Wi-Fi, right inside the house, not on a running trail miles away. The text that formed the official timeline was a lie. It was sent from inside Elara's own home. This discovery was the turning point. The run-gone wrong story was a fabrication. Someone used Elara's phone at 8:15 p.m. to create a false timeline. Ben Carter's alibi held. So there was only one other person with a key to the house. Only one other who knew Elara's passcode and could operate her phone. Suddenly, the grieving husband with the perfect alibi became the prime suspect. Detective Chen described the moment he saw the report from the forensics lab. It was a lightning bolt, he told us.
We had been chasing a ghost.
For weeks we looked for a stranger in the park, but the data said the call came from inside the house. The threat wasn't a stranger. It was the person she shared her life with. The investigation shifted instantly. They stopped trying to break Ben's alibi. They started dismantling Marcus Vance's. Investigators now looked at Marcus Vance's alibi with fresh eyes. They started with the foundation of his story. The text messages, not just the ones sent from Elara's phone, but also the ones he claimed to have sent her. He told police he had texted Elara at 8:45 p.m., asking if she was okay. The message read, "Hey, run going long, getting worried." But a deeper analysis of his phone's metadata told a different story. The text was not sent at 8:45 p.m. It was written earlier in the day and scheduled to be sent later. This was the second critical digital clue. Most people don't know that smartphones keep a record of when a message is drafted, not just when it is sent. The metadata on Marcus's phone showed the worried text was typed and scheduled at 6:30 p.m., a full hour before he even claimed to have left the house. He was manufacturing his concern before Elara was even supposedly missing. He was building his alibi, step by step creating a digital play-by-play of a fake evening. He was directing a movie in which he was the hero. The forensic team then turned to a second phone, a disposable burner phone that Marcus had purchased with cash weeks earlier. He thought it was untraceable, but he had made a mistake. He had turned the phone on for the first time inside his own home. For a few seconds, it connected to his Wi-Fi network before he disabled the feature. That brief connection was all it took. The router's logs recorded the burner phone's unique identification number linking the supposedly anonymous device directly to Marcus Vance. Cell tower records for the burner phone filled in the rest of the story. On the night of the murder, the burner phone traveled with Marcus's personal phone. It pinged off the same cell towers on the route to the supply store and the shipping center. After dropping off the package at 9:12 p.m., Marcus's personal phone was turned off for 45 minutes, but the burner phone remained on, and its location data showed it traveling not back home, but to a remote wooded area where Elara's body would later be found. The digital evidence painted a new, horrifying timeline. Marcus Vance killed his wife Elara sometime before 7:30 p.m. He then took Elara's phone, his personal phone, the burner phone, and left the house. At 8:15 p.m. while driving, he used Elara's phone to send the fake text messages to himself to her sister, creating the illusion she was just starting her run. He then drove to the office supply store. The receipt at 8:28 p.m. was real. The eyewitness was real. He was buying himself time and distance. His next stop was the shipping center. The package he dropped off at 9:12 p.m. contained nothing more than old magazines. It was just another prop to solidify his timeline. Immediately after leaving the shipping center, He did this because he knew police could track its location, but he forgot about the burner phone in his pocket, which continued to broadcast its location to nearby cell towers. It was this second phone that tracked his journey to the woods where he disposed of Elara's body. Afterward, he turned his personal phone back on and drove home, arriving shortly before making the frantic 911 call at 10:48 p.m. He had created a nearly 2-hour window where he was worried and looking for his wife. In reality, he was covering up a murder. The scheduled text message, the Wi-Fi log, and the burner phone data completely destroyed his carefully constructed alibi. Each piece of digital evidence exposed a different lie, revealing the cold, calculated nature of his plan. The final piece of the puzzle came from Elara herself. Her habit of sharing her location with her sister provided one last clue. The location sharing had stopped at 7:21 p.m., not because she turned it off, but because her phone was powered down. It was turned on again briefly at 8:14 p.m., just long enough to connect to the Wi-Fi and send the fake texts, before being shut down again. This data point established the true time of death. Elara was gone long before anyone thought she was missing. Her own safety precautions helped detectives see the truth. Presented with the overwhelming digital evidence, Marcus Vance's calm demeanor shattered. The Wi-Fi logs, the scheduled text, the burner phone data. It was an avalanche of proof he could not explain away. He was arrested and charged with the murder of his wife. The case was built not on physical evidence from the crime scene, which he had been so careful to clean, but on the invisible trail of data he had left behind. The trial was short. The prosecution laid out the digital timeline, step by step, for the jury. The visualizations were simple and powerful, a map showing the burner phone traveling to the woods while the personal phone was off. A graphic displaying the timestamp of the home Wi-Fi connection from Elara's phone. A screenshot of the metadata from Marcus's phone, showing the worried text was written hours before it was sent. The jury saw a man who had not just killed his wife, but who had then tried to use her own words and her own technology to frame an innocent man and escape justice. They returned a guilty verdict in under 3 hours. This story is a tragedy about the loss of a vibrant, intelligent woman. Elara Vance was failed by the system that couldn't protect her from a stalker, but she was ultimately betrayed by the person she should have been able to trust the most. Her story is also a stark reminder of the world we now live in. We leave digital footprints with every step we take. Twabri balabrinain, one day bistemon, or jifsturi. Kajabe namen pansaman instanamen nan. We think these actions are fleeting, but they are recorded and stored, often in places we never think to look, like a simple household router. In the end, justice for Elara Vance came from the very technology her killer tried to manipulate. He believed he could create a perfect alibi, a fictional story told through text messages and receipts. He thought he was smarter than the system, but he wasn't smarter than the data. The digital world does not forget, and in this case, its memory was what finally brought a murderer out of the shadows and into the light, ensuring that the truth of what happened to Elara Vance was not lost forever.